welcome back to the Rules of Engagement. Before we jump into our third segment, I remind you guys to check out Full Sail University if you're interested in careers in game design or esports production, audio engineering, video production, any of these cool things that have a lot of careers in various amounts of industries. Go and check out Full Sail University. www.fullsail.edu/MLG is your best portal to find out information on their various programs. Full Sail University is the official education partner of the Major League Game. So our next segment is going to be on a solid way to play Protoss versus Terran. First, we're going to talk about the early mid-game. You want to play the most staple, solid type of build, a good way to play it. Talk about some early game Terran pushes and also how to fight around a ramp. So we started this game off at a 6-minute mark. And here, basically, we're going to take a look at this from the Protoss point of view. This is Major versus Bales in game 2. Major is up 1-0. This is the losers match of yesterday's Challenger League group fight. So, again, it's just a 1-gate expansion, then he gets the Robo, then he gets 2 more gateways. Pretty standard stuff. You always want to get the Robo before the 2nd, 3rd gateway to get those observers out as fast as possible. The observers allow you, if you look from his vision, you can both put him in positions to scout out in case there's any type of widow mine drops. Also, you can scout your opponent. It's good to have as many observers out as fast as possible. They're so important now with the Medevac Ignite Afterburners ability in PvT. And so always go ahead and just get 2-3 observers out as fast as possible. Then you go and progress up to the Colossus tech, or the Closet tech, excuse me. And as you're doing that, you want to go ahead and get the Forge, keep getting probes. And here's where the observers are. So useful observer can spot that medevac, you know it's there. Then you want to spread your units in the right pattern, right? So you want to have some units near your natural that can react there. Your mothership core can be near your main where it can photon overcharge here. Or you can do it, you can switch it around another way. You can have the units in your main and mothership core to natural. As long as you can cover both your worker lines if you are attacked. That's the most important thing. So then what you want to do, as soon as that first Colossus comes out, you'll be in good position to go ahead and take your 3rd base. Remember to stay on top of upgrades. So one big difference we see here, Bales, he's getting his +1 armor. Major getting his +1 weapons. But Bales is going ahead and getting a Forge. He's also shortly going to add a Twilight Council, I imagine. Major, still no 2nd eBay or Armory. So he's going to start falling behind in the mid-game because he's not progressing in upgrades to the same extent that Bales is. So that's an important thing I wanted to point out really quickly. Always, from both sides of the matchup, try to progress on those upgrades. And so there goes the Twilight Council. So Bales can go straight to get both upgrades at once as soon as that is finished. And now the next thing we're talking about is defending early Terran aggression. So you take that expansion as soon as the first Colossus comes out. And now the tricky part is you have to know where potential drop threats are. Right? So in your main, for example, you have the 1 cannon there. In your natural, you build a cannon as well. The reason why you do this is so that'll buy you time. The cannon is not going to stop a drop, but what the cannon will do, it will buy you enough time to warp in a set of units. It'll buy enough time to send a few units out there. But it's also important you know where the main army is, so you know where to put your main army. You do not want to have to lose that 3rd base. Your main army should always be ready to balance their main army. Their main army is all medevacs heading towards your main. Your main army goes to your main. If you have the observer out in front of your base, you see their main army is out in front of your base. Your main army guards your ramp. And then in these type of battles, right here, the most important thing, micro priority. Number 1, if Terran's trying to attack you, look at this from Bale's point of view. If Terran tries to attack you, number 1 priority, hit the force fields. You don't want to block the entire army off. If ever Terran attacks you early as Protoss, it's a gift. Because if you play it correctly, you're going to be ahead. Unless it involves Hellbats. But if it's just a bio attack, it is a gift. Now, to accept this gift, what you must do is you must split a 3rd of the army off in force fields. That's a perfect number. Now, this is almost exactly perfect force fields. Look how he blocked off about 6 or 7 units. There's 2 more that died here. Or he trapped 6, 7 units, and then there's about 14 units that are stuck behind the force fields. Assuming that these actually are a solid wall, which they might not be perfect, but you had 1 more there. All of a sudden, you just get a bunch of free unit kills. That's step 1. Step 2 is, let's back this up again. Notice the other thing he did. First, you go for those perfect force fields. Trap a 3rd of the army if possible. Let's fast forward this location again. Alright. So step 1, hit the perfect force fields. Right there. Boom. Step 2, after the force fields, prioritize saving your key units. At this point in the game, the key units are the Colossi and the Sentries. Similar versus Zerglin Deathball versus Terran is the same thing. You notice what can be focused, the front Sentry, front Colossi. Micro those units manually back. Pull the Colossus back, these sentries, you see, he pulled them back away from the force fields because the bio could have ran forward and engaged him. So, hit the good force fields, then protect your key units with excellent, excellent micro. So now going forward, if we do that, that's what happens. You take the gift, you're going to be ahead very efficient because you're not going to lose any units if you micro well. You're going to lose like 1 or 2 zealots at most, not a big deal. And you're going to be in a very good position to go forward in the game. So now going forward, your both players are going to macro up. And again, notice, Armory and second eBay just now being put down at the 1240 mark. Protoss is already working on, he's already 1-1, working on the second armor, is already 2/3 way done. Second attack is started before the Terran even starts, before the Terran armor is even done. So Protoss is in a very good position going into the macro game. Terran's trying to find some angles where he can harass, but some warp in defense. They can buy time again to get those units there, and you're in good shape. Again, cannons always at the extremities of your base, right? Your natural cannon doesn't go to the front, it goes to the back. The reason why? Your army is close to the front. Your army is going to be in the front entryways right here. The cannons guard the back entryways. The back entryways there, the back entryways here, and of course the back entryway down here. Why is there no cannon over here? Well, because they fly over natural first to get there, and you have the cannon to natural, so you have plenty of advance warning time. So now going forward, the Protoss has an advantage. And this is a situation where Protoss has an upgrade advantage. He's got economy roughly equal. He's in a pretty good shape. But Major's going to decide to do this mass SCV pull attack pretty soon. One of the cool things about this is also he's able to trick Major and think he's going purely for nothing but Colossi, because he did that, I think, in the first game. Or maybe he didn't. I'm thinking of a different game. Anyways, Major thinks he's going for mass Colossi, and so he went double reactor, mass Vikings, no Ghost Academy. But look at this. After 3 Colossi go into Immortals, getting a bunch of Archons. So not only does he have an upgrade advantage, he's going to have a compositional advantage as well, because we're going to end up, as we see when Major does decide to go for this attack right now, as he's pulling all his forces. If you look at the units tab here, we're going to see it's 17 Vikings to 3 Colossi, only 4 medevacs, which is really important. 4 medevacs is not enough for Terran at this point in the game. So he's doing this mass SCV pull, and what I want to talk about right now is how to micro around the ramp. So as a Protoss opponent, as a Protoss player, you don't worry about losing the 4th base. Your observer saw the SCVs being pulled across the map. You know, if I defend this attack, I'll be ahead. So all you want to do is defend the 3 bases. It looks like he's hit up this ramp. How do you control around this ramp? That's what it's all about, knowing the key ranges. So what you want to do, you want to position your forces so that for the Terran bio to attack your ground units, it has to be at the top of the ramp, right? You want the bio to attack your ground units has to be this line, right? And that's super, super important. I'll explain why in a second. The Vikings versus your Colossi, in this case, it's not that important because he has so many Vikings. Let the Colossi die, whatever. Some situations you want to try to use some fancy blink micro or storms, but in this situation, it's all about the ground bio versus your charged out Archon Immortal Force. And so you want to make sure that until it gets to this point, it can't attack your units. Which means, what's the range from there? Well, your units should not be in front of a line about like that, going down there. Your units should not be in front of this line. If your units are in front of this line, the Terran can attack you from lower down on the ramp. And why is it so important Terran has to be at the top of the ramp to attack you? Well, it's just simple. If you have your sentries, we'll put sentries in yellow. If you have your sentries right here, right here, right here is your sentries, what's their maximum force field range? Well, the maximum force field range is 9. It's going to be higher than a bio. It's going to be the bottom of the ramp. And that's where you want to trap the Terran army, is you want to get those force fields behind their army. The ramp's the best location to trap them because it only takes a few force fields. And if they're on top of the ramp, you can force them at the bottom of the ramp and they're stuck. If they're on the bottom of the ramp, it's a little bit more difficult, right? I mean, you can still do it. Sometimes you can hit the force fields behind and do some funny stuff over there. But in general, by far the easiest way, make sure the sentries and your units are behind that line. And when Terran goes to the top ramp, you force field behind it. Now, if you can't play the range game perfectly and it's getting tricky, just attack move. The most important thing is to be decisive. Don't keep running in and running out of the range. You either stay back, force field trap them, or you charge for it. So going into the game, what we see here, we can kind of see that same situation. In fact, actually, let's Let's play this with those lines up there so we can see what's happening. You see, every time the Protoss runs forward here, Major knows that if he gets to the top of this ramp, all of a sudden the force fields can hit behind him. So he's trying to lure the Protoss into the ramp where he can pick off some of the key units. Of course, Vikings will pick up the Colossi, and again, when Protoss runs forward, he gets some free hits off. You see that? More free Zealots being killed, more free Zealots being killed. And eventually, Protoss is like, you know what, I can't go down the bottom of the ramp. My units get choked up. And so he's taking a lot of free hits over and over and over again. Just because the units aren't safe behind that red line. He's not hitting those magic force fields and trap the Terran army. And now he's going for it, but he's already lost a couple of his key Archons and most of his key charge-ons. The good news for the Protoss is Major way overmade Vikings, so he can't heal his units. You see they're all hurt. The other good news is he's ahead in upgrades, he's ahead in economy and production, so he's still going to be able to defend his attack. But the key thing is that it could have been a closer game where Bales didn't play so well in the opening, and then making those mistakes about not understanding the ranges perfectly wouldn't have been ideal. Now, if it starts to happen where you make those mistakes and kind of go back and forth, just attack move. Just forget it. Don't even try to go back and forth. Just go for one big attack. It's important to be decisive. Strategy is not for the wishy-washy. You got to make a decision. It's better to make an imperfect decision, but just commit to it all the way and do it the best you can than it is to not make any decision at all. So we get back in the game here. Now we can see eventually he's able to kind of get enough units to overrun this just from superior production, superior upgrades, etc. and so forth. So the super important things about this game to remember, one is keep upgrading. All right. The main reason why the Protoss was so far ahead there is Major neglected his upgrades. The army wasn't even started till like 12:30, whereas Protoss was really on top of those upgrades. So for both sides, keep upgrading. Also, be decisive. Bales was very far ahead that game, almost lost it because he wasn't quite decisive enough, and it made that battle a lot closer than it should have been. So, yes, it's nice if you can have perfect tactics and always have the engagements perfectly, but you know what? In a real game, there's so much going on. You're trying to macro, you're trying to micro. Your units are kind of getting crazy out of control. If it starts to lose control, just decisively go in for an engagement and just aim move. That's the best secondary decision. So this wraps up our third segment. We'll take a short break and be right on to the Q&A.